Who here is an Eric Weddle, a San Diego Chargers, or a Los Angeles Rams fan? Yes, anybody? Yes, okay. My name is Alex Flanagan. I had the great pleasure of covering Eric Weddle and many of his teammates and players for many years on the NFL sidelines. I was also a college football sideline reporter for Notre Dame football. Spent 12 years at the NFL Network, worked for the San Diego Chargers back in the day as well on their sidelines, and have gotten to see many athletes like Eric Weddle grow, win through their determination, through their dedication, through their resolve, and really understand what it takes to get to play in a Super Bowl and to actually win a Super Bowl. So thank you so much for having me here today, and we have a really exciting program planned for you guys. So I'm going to introduce a few special people that are familiar to you guys. First, we bring up MCI West Marine Corps Base Camp Pendleton Commanding General, Brigadier General Woodworth to the stage, along with General, come on over, along with 14-year NFL veteran and Super Bowl champion Eric Weddle. I think Eric has a small presentation for you guys.
Yes, just want to say how excited Alex and I are to be here with you today. Shed some light and get into some conversations and some things that have helped me. But first, want to present this ball to the General and the installation, signed Super Bowl from the Rams. There you go. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Hey, Marines and families, I'll be real quick here because I am not what you came to see today, but I just want to thank Alex and the Super Bowl champion, Eric Weddle, for spending a little bit of time here with you all this morning. The point of this conversation is to give you the opportunity to talk to and hear from an individual who's done a lot of great things in his life. But the most important thing that this man does is give back. Right? He's not in it for himself. He's taking care of his family. He's about to go coach high school football. Imagine that, winning a national champion or the NFL championship and then going and coaching, being a high school football coach because he wants to pass it on to the next generation. The thing that I'd ask you to think about is he's going to talk a little bit about rest and recovery and what that means to being a professional athlete. And it also applies to what you do every day when you get out there and you do your fitness regime and you take care of yourself and your body over the weekend and come back ready to rested and ready to work hard after the weekend and get after it and be the best Marines you can. So just with that, I'll say thank you to the team for being here. Appreciate your support. And Eric, congrats again. That Super Bowl ring is really heavy, by the way. He may let you check it out after. It's super cool. Appreciate you being here and,
yes,
and supporting the Marine Corps and our awesome young men and women who serve their country. Hoorah.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Oh, by the way, Alex is the daughter of a Marine as well, so she has a lot of experience in this world as well. Hoorah. Thanks.
All right, everything.
All right. How you guys doing? Let's go, baby. A little energy. Come on now.
All right, we're going to go off script already, and we're going to show off the ring a little bit.
Yes.
I got to hold it and put it on. You guys have never seen anything like this before. There's, I don't know how many diamonds in that thing.
25 carats. Biggest, yeah, she is right. Biggest ring ever made, and what's that?
Right, me too, me too. And it has a secret compartment. I
It
don't know
does.
if you guys saw or read.
So the top comes off, and that's the actual leather of the football that was played in the game. Each player got a cutout of it, and then it's a picture or a cutout of the stadium. And the paint that they used in the green is actual from the turf of SoFi Stadium. They use remnants. I don't know. I'm trying to make it cool. So it's very unique, and to say it was surreal, unexpected is an understatement. And every time I look at it, it's like I'm living a dream all over again. So very cool. And if anyone afterwards, if you guys don't have anything, you want to check it out or take a picture, just come on up. I would be more than willing to. So.
Well, we're going to kind of dig in and dive into some of your advice on rest and recovery. I think I can speak for both Eric and I when I say thank you all for serving and for the duty and the important work that you're doing. My dad was in the Marine Corps. He was a fighter pilot. He served 2 tours in Vietnam. He's 82 years old now, and those memories and his life back then were the best days of his life. And he's going to every reunion he can now and visits with all of his former Marines. So thank you from both of us for serving and the work that you do. As we just heard, I think rest and recovery, I think in many professions is something that's often overlooked. I think as a professional athlete, it's something you really can't afford to overlook, because I think, as you'll hear from Eric, you can't afford to not pay attention to it, because it shows up on the field if you do. So I think we're going to start a little bit about talking about that ring and how it came about. As you guys saw in the video, Eric decided to retire and then was called back into duty out of retirement. And just take us through that a little bit first, and tell us about that decision, kind of where you were at both mentally and physically, and that decision to come back.
Yeah, I mean, I retired obviously after the 2019 season, so January of 20, decided to hang it up. A little backstory of how I came. Could I still play? Yes. Was my body failing me? Of course, but there was a little bit of desire still left. But midway through that last season with the Rams, I don't tell this often, but I love the Marines and I love you guys serving us. So it's not my proudest moment, but at halftime, mid-season, we were struggling as a team, going through an up and down season, and in halftime we were losing the game, and I sit down in my locker and I pause like this, and I'm shaking my head, and the first thought I was thinking was, I don't really care if we win or lose this game. And in that moment I quickly said, holy smokes, you got to get that thought out of your mind. You got a job to do, right, for your team, yourself, you owe it to them. But in that moment I was like, this is it, this is my last season. I'm going to give it all I have. But if the desire and the mental focus is not 100% committed, you can't continue to play. So I left on my own terms, was happy, content. 2 years go by, coaching football, coaching my son's 12U team, loving that, pushing these little young kids to run NFL defenses and offense and just destroying teams. We won a championship, and I was on cloud nine. And then I just came out of a meeting with the athletic director at the local high school about taking over the high school program. And I come out of that meeting excited, ecstatic. The meeting went great. Basically, it was an interview to hopefully take over the program. And I have a missed call from Raheem Morris, who's the defense coordinator of the Rams. I'm like, gosh, that is odd. Why would Raheem be calling me? I don't really know much about the Cardinals. You know, I don't watch the Cardinals. Could he be asking about something 2 years ago when I played against them? So I call him back, and we're just chit-chatting for a couple minutes, and he says, out of nowhere, he says, Eric, you're not fat and out of shape, are you? And I say, in my back of my mind, I'm like, why would he be saying that? And I answer, I say, of course not. You know, I'm about 182 pounds dripping wet. You're definitely not the guy I was 2 years ago. And he says, you think you could give us 15, 20 snaps Monday night? And I literally started laughing. I started laughing. I'm like, this is a joke, right? He's like, no, this is serious. We don't really have anybody else. And I said, you mean to tell me I'm the best option you guys have? You do know I haven't done anything football-wise in 2 years. And, you know, a few hours later, you contemplate a lot of things in that moment. Physically, could I do it? Mentally, I was in a great place with my wife, my kids, taxi service, get up in the morning, make breakfast, make lunches, drop them off, sports. I was in a good place. I didn't want to go back. Never had the desire to. I mean, I gave it all I had, and I was good. I was content. And then you start swirling around. Could I do it? Could I turn this? Could I turn this body around? Do I have the support of my wife, and is she on board with it? Like, a lot of factors go into trying to make a jump back into the game. And the bottom line that I came to, you know, a few hours gone by, talked to a bunch of people, and I got on the phone with Chanel, and we're talking through all the positives and the negatives, and can you do it, can you not do it? And the last thing she said to me before I hung up, she said, babe, if anyone can do it, you can do it. And right then and there I said, you know what, you're dang right. You're dang right, because mentally we can do anything we want to do if you commit to yourself. And 5 weeks later, you're looking at a Super Bowl champ with a ruptured pec, but it was all worth it.
Wow, and I think that's a great point.
Long story short.
How's the pec?
The pec is good. I could do push-ups. I got under the bar last week, so I got upper tomorrow, and I got under the barbell first time, 135 pounds. So the days of benching 350 are long gone. And will I ever get to 225? Maybe. But I'm okay with that. I don't need to lift the world anymore. Don't need to, don't want to. Just want to be in shape and feel good and get those aches and sorenesses out every day.
Let's talk about that, because I think what's different about you and all of you guys is you were a professional athlete and you got to focus on making your body, fine-tuning your body was a big part of your job, right? I mean, you're focused on that almost every day, as well as learning, obviously, the job and your teammates in football. But how do you, let's talk a little bit about your workout routine, your post-workout recovery, and kind of how you approach that to be able to be in shape to go back and play the way you did.
Yeah, so every routine is different depending on your status, depending on physically how you are as a football player. And it's no different for what you guys have got a demanding physical job, right? And if your body fails you, you're no good to your team, you're no good to yourself. So my first couple years in the league, I was just hovering around and just a good, solid player. And I just got tired of just being good and average. I wanted more. I wanted to be the best. I wanted to be and strive to be that in every facet of my job. So what I needed to change was my routine, was my workouts, was getting stronger, faster, and really getting and building a routine that was good for me, right? What I did wasn't necessarily good for everybody else, but really committing to the physical nature of the business and taking that approach that if I'm not gonna do it the right way and take the necessary steps to make it a priority, I'm going to fizzle out and be out of this league. So by the end of, when I went back, I had the same routine this past 6 months ago when I went back to the Rams that I did the last 10 years of my career. And that was basically working out every day. In the mornings, I would get into the building probably 5:30, depending on when our first meetings were. You guys all probably know about getting up early. No difference there. And would always start the morning off with a workout, some kind of workout to get the mind going, to get the body going, get the blood pumping. And depending on the day was what type of workout. So on Mondays would be the hardest lift of the week for me because I played on Sundays. So if you had a grueling training day, right, that really took it out of you, that next day for myself was the most important lift and recovery for the entire week to turn it over by the following Sunday. Was it always a great time? No. It was a lot of pain, a lot of work, a lot of suffering through it, but I knew the importance of getting that lift and run in and the recovery from that, whether it be sauna, whether it be cold tub. I'm a huge proponent of sauna time, and the statistics back that up of the benefits of sauna. So literally, I would sauna cold tub 3 times a day throughout my career, which a lot of people say it was crazy, but over the course of my career, I didn't miss many games.
So you play really hard on Sunday, and then you go back into the gym on Monday, and that's not a rest day. That's a crush it day. Yes.
So I learned over the course of my career that the more I would let those injuries and joints swell up and get inflammation in it, the more I gave that time and not work it out and not get those joints moving, the harder I had to turn it over and recover by the following Sunday. So it took me a few years to learn that. But once I did, I literally, no matter how injured I was, if I could barely run, I'd be out there hobbling, jogging, doing whatever it took, because I knew the benefits would outweigh the intense pain I was in the moment. And to be able to do that earlier, as quick as you can, from those injuries, from that pain tolerance of those training sessions that you guys have, the quicker you can get back to it, the quicker you're going to recover.
how much do you credit your routine, your rest, your recovery to your success?
I think my career, if I didn't work out and treat my body like it is the temple, as you know, you're no good. You can't make the club in the tub. That's kind of a funny saying in the NFL. And it's so true. If you're often injured, you don't have a job. And that's how I felt. I felt like I didn't want to waste one moment, one day of not doing whatever it took, that I'm healthy, that I'm strong, and that I'm able to perform on Sundays. And did it mean I had to sacrifice my time with my kids? Yes. Sacrifice time with my family? Yeah. And figuring out that balance is always a struggle. But at the bottom line is, if you're not healthy and you're not ready to perform for yourself and for your teammates, you're no good to anybody. Yeah. And you don't have a we
as I look out into the audience, it's
hey, come on in. You're not late. It's okay.
I think
we know the bus was running on one wheel or something crazy.
Welcome, everybody. So let's talk about, because I think a lot of times you don't 100% know, it takes a lot of education to know what to do, right? And so you might want to have these routines and have rest and recovery and have different routines in your life, but you don't necessarily know without either having an expert or educating yourself. Give us some insight into who you learned from, what kind of tips or techniques or things that you were taught along your career that really you utilized and that really you embedded into your world and your practice.
Yeah, so funny story I'll share. I was a rookie with the Chargers. I just got drafted and we're in OTAs, and I'm like, I don't know anything from anything at this moment. I'm just sitting back, keeping my mouth shut, listening to the older guys, watching from afar. You know, I got drafted to take people's jobs, so the older guys didn't like me. The offensive guys were there to punish me because I'm the young rookie. So it was kind of a lonely time in a sense. But what I found was, while I was watching guys do their work and do their recovery and the rehab and things that they did, I try to take little tidbits. And I walk in, this is middle of OTA, so probably like April, May, June, so June-ish. And I opened the door of the sauna, and Eric Parker, he was a receiver for the Chargers. He was probably, I think, year 10 at that time, and I don't think he played much after that season because he got injured. But he was in there on the bike with the fan on it. You guys all know that? It's like, what is the bike? What is that called? Yes, it's the worst bike ever, right? Nobody likes the assault bike. Maybe people that like the assault bike are the ones that like can't really go run, which for me, I was like, I'd rather go run a lot than get on the assault bike because it is way more painful. But I get in there, and he is just killing it in the sauna with this assault bike. So just imagine how hot it is and how hard it is inside the sauna. And I'm like, this guy is insane. This is what NFL guys do? Like, I don't know if I'm up for this. This is wild. So that was my first taste of just seeing a pro do something that he felt was beneficial to him. And he played a long time. So am I telling you that because I was an assault bike, loved the assault bike, and I did it in the sauna? No, I never did it once. But it did tell me and show me that a routine, it showed me leadership, it showed me that this guy is doing whatever it takes to make sure his body is right and to get that work in. So that was my first real live look at it. Probably the most beneficial person that showed me the way and taught me was the Baltimore Ravens strength coach. So when I signed in Baltimore in 2016, I had worked out every day and I had my routine set, but he really educated me and really showed me a different way of doing things at the NFL level, which really, I didn't miss one snap in Baltimore my 3 years. I was as strong and as fast and as explosive as I had ever been at age 31, 32, and 33 years old. And I credit it to him and the programs he sent for me. And the biggest takeaway that I would say from him is he was always about pushing the limits of both functional work, but also strength work, right? Really being strong. Like, I'm basically throwing myself into other people and basically getting in car accidents every time I hit somebody. So really, you have to prepare and build your body to be able to withstand that. And from July, when I would do my last workouts to see how strong I was, to the end of the season in January, I was either at that or I had gained strength throughout the entire season, which when you're really thinking about it, playing 17 games, 4 preseason games, so 20 games, I had gained strength during that time, and it was because of the workouts and staying on a routine and lifting every day and taking the approach that no matter what, my body comes first, and knowing the effects that it has on the field on Sundays gave me a huge advantage over every one of my competition.
What about some of the recovery in terms of the night before a big game? I think we all can relate to, having a big test or having a big event or something that at night it's hard to sleep, and you're sitting there in bed being like, I gotta sleep. I know that rest is so meaningful to your performance the next day. What were some of your routines, or how did you get through the night before a Super Bowl, making sure that your body's calm and gets what it needs?
Well, I think a lot of times, for me personally, I tried to do everything I could in the week prior to Saturday night, both mentally, physically, studying, preparing, making sure my body's as good as possible. So I know I can go in Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, whenever I'm playing, that I can play free, and I can look myself in the mirror at the end of the day and say, you did everything you could. There is no reason to be nervous. There is no reason to worry about how you're going to play. That is the unknown, right? Nobody knows what's going to happen after we leave these doors, right? We can all worry and think and contemplate what's going to happen. Am I going to make this play? Am I going to not make this play? Are we going to win? Are we going to lose? It could drive you nuts. And I learned that I try to prepare and try to live in the moment. And I don't worry about what cannot happen or what cannot affect me, if that makes sense. Don't worry about things you can't control. And were there nights that I did have those anxiety and stress and couldn't sleep? Yeah. And when I think about those nights and the few times that it did happen, is because I didn't prepare the right way during the week. I didn't do the right things. I didn't exercise. I didn't rehab. I didn't study the playbook. And it showed on Sundays, and that's why I was up all night. Not because I was worried about the other team. I was worried because I wasn't prepared to go do my job for my team. But I think in life, a lot of times we worry about things that we can't control. And we worry instead of living. And living without fear. Just live. Just live and be in the moment.
But that ability to do that comes when you are prepared,
Yes.
and when you have the confidence. So you're not sitting there on a Sunday with your head spinning because you haven't studied the game plan.
100%.
You had put that work in leading up to it so that you could be, right? I mean,
Yes.
that feels like that's a big factor with athletes, especially in the NFL. When you know what you're doing and you have that experience, you can play free.
Yes, I mean, at the end of the day, when we watch football on Sundays, the game has been pretty much played if you know and if you've done your part Monday through Saturday, right? At the end of the day, Sunday is just a test and see if you studied or not. Because teams do what they do. They do little change-ups here and there, but at the end of the day, they're going to run what they run. And if you do your part and study and watch film and know the scheme and know what you're supposed to be doing, and on top of that, take care of your body, mentally you're focused, you're clear mind, you go out and play great. And there is no need to worry. So a lot of times it is the preparation, the preparation, the rest, the recovery, the supplements, all that stuff coincides with getting the job done. It just doesn't happen. In any business, in any teamwork, it takes all the little details before that makes you successful.
Yeah. Easier said than done, right? Right? When you're taking the test, you're like, I should have studied a little more last week, right? What about things that helped you aid in recovery? Like any supplements, any massage, anything that you did that helped you? What was your routine there?
So, I was a big proponent of lifting and running, and the more blood I can get in the areas that needed it, that's how you're going to recover. Massages help, chiropractor, ART, all that stuff is good. I didn't really use that much of that stuff because I was gone a lot. And to tell Chanel in my Rugrats, hey, Dad's going to be gone another 2 hours on my off day, on top of the 5 hours I was already gone, I was just like, this is just not going to happen. It's not beneficial to my life and my situation at home. Not saying that stuff doesn't work. It is. All that stuff is good. But for me, it was getting a routine of lifting and running, and really sauna every day was real. I would wholeheartedly, if that's not something that's in the routine here, that I would 100% talk to and try to get that going.
Wow.
Coupled that with cold tub. You know, the benefits of getting the blood moving throughout your body at a high temperature and then shocking the system is, I mean, I believe in it, and it worked for me. Supplements. So I'll give you, so when I was saying earlier, I was 182 pounds on Tuesday. Wednesday morning, I got up there at 5:30. So by Wednesday the following week, I was up to 193 pounds and added, 10, 11 pounds of muscle, dropped body fat. And there are supplements out there that are really good. Creatine is awesome, right? If you want to add muscle, the recovery, obviously coupled that with like beta alanine, with obviously your protein, with your BCAAs. Anytime you're sore after a workout, it's because you're not getting enough protein or you're not getting enough BCAAs. So if you ever think to yourself, man, I'm really sore after this workout, I can barely move my arms. Well, you just didn't get enough protein in your body to break it down, or you're not getting enough BCAAs, which couple that with you help when you don't get enough protein. So when you're thinking about when you're sore a lot, just add more BCAAs to your night drink, and one, you'll sleep better, and two, you're getting those nutrients. So those are a few things that helped me throughout my career. Obviously, eating right, having a strict diet, and understanding the benefits that it has on your body, and the late nights, the night after a game, understanding like I'm not going to be drinking. I got to have the understanding that I got to carry this over into Monday to a new workout. Try to turn my body over there. If you're drinking, if you're partying, enjoying the night, hey, that's all good. But now you're just prolonging your recovery. And really, when your body is your temple, when your body is what's most important to exercising your job, I tried to stay and keep the focus on the body.
Anything diet specific, like what don't you eat or what do you eat?
Yeah, that definitely changed over time.
You're clearly very disciplined, right? Mentally, physically disciplined, even with the diet.
Yes. I used to eat whatever I wanted early in my career. And, when the decision to take that next step, right? What do I need to do? I need to work out more. I need to start eating better. I need to do the things necessary to elevate my game. And what worked for me, honestly, it's kind of crazy, but I love sugar and I love ice cream. Like, I could probably eat ice cream every day, and it's bad. So what I would do is each year you try to self-reflect. How can I individually get better so my team gets better? And if our team gets better, then we win more games, and we win more games, and we win championships. Like, that's how you think. Like, what can I do for the team? And I thought to myself, well, how about if I sacrifice sugar and ice cream throughout the week, and if we win after the game, then I can eat as much ice cream as I want. Now, does that aid really into the recovery process? Probably not. But I'm sacrificing so much throughout the week that I felt that was a nice little reward for me. And so I was a heavy protein, light carbs, no sugar throughout the week. That included fruit. I felt that the body, for me, now I'm not saying, and I have no food and nutrition background, so take this as like a grain of salt. But I just felt like you don't need sugar, your body doesn't need sugar. And, as long as you're getting your electrolytes and the water and those things, that counterbalances the processed sugar and even the sugar from fruit. And, the results, over 14 years, I only missed 5 games.
That's insane.
Which is over 190 games.
What's a typical meal look like for you? Like a typical day, I guess.
Okay, so I'd work out sometimes on an empty stomach, sometimes maybe just like a protein bar just to get something in my system if I was going to have like a pre-workout or some kind of BCAAs. You don't want to eat a workout on an empty stomach. But then after that, breakfast would just be like 3 eggs and maybe a strip or 2 of bacon. And that was it. If I had a hard day, knowing like a hard practice day, I would add in like some oatmeal just to give me a little more pop throughout the rest of the day. And then lunch would be a protein shake, and maybe if we had like chicken or beef or fish, like every day at most facilities you have one of the 3, I would just have some type of protein. And I would stay away from carbs until the end of the night. And then at the end of the night, after practice, I'd have another protein shake. And then I'd get another workout in, obviously another rehab, recovery. And then dinner, it would be like a full meal. And staying consistent is the main thing. To any diet, honestly, it's just being consistent. Like your approach to dieting is no different than your approach to how you work out, how you study, how you train. It has to be that focus. If you want results and you want to be your very best, your diet has to have the same focus and intent as you do as everything else in your life.
Any vices at all? Any caffeine? Any
Caffeine? I mean, who doesn't? Like all these energy drinks now, they taste so good. Who is not with me? Like all these drinks now are so good. Like I don't drink soda,
they're like
and
sugar.
I don't drink alcohol. So it's like these energy drinks, I just like sip on them throughout the day because they're just like, it's like candy. Seriously. And I bet like down the road they're gonna say like these were terrible for you, but I mean, shoot, we gotta do what it takes to get the job done.
Because a lot of athletes or a lot of people, I think, I mean, it's marketed that way, is that you kind of take one of those, you drink one before the workout, before the game, before the performance, before the activity, right? And then you're kind of hyped up to do it.
Yeah, I like sipping on them. I never like the jitters, your face is, we've all gone through that. Like your face feels like it's moving because you've taken so many supplements and caffeine and, you can't even think straight. Like we got to be able to think, and you got to be able to adapt, and you got to be able to think on the fly. So I never liked that feeling. A funny story. You guys will get a kick out of this. So I was with the Charger, and it was probably my 3rd or 4th year. And we had a guy on the team. He came from the Steelers. His name was Tyrone Carter. You obviously probably know who he is. But he was a safety. And he was a backup safety for us. But he was an older guy. He had won a Super Bowl with the Steelers. So, obviously I'm like trying to learn from him and any type of tidbits and advice. So before a game, he's like, hey, he brought all our DBs. And he's like, I got this new pre-workout. Let's all take it. And, of course, I was young. I was like, yeah, sure. And it was, I don't know if you guys remember, it was called Jacked 3D. And it's basically like banned. It's like almost like a literal
banned substance.
Yes, a literal drug. So we took it, and I couldn't even see straight in that game. I had blown calls, I had missed plays, and I came to him after the game and I said, Tyrone, I called him TC. I'm like, don't ever give me any type of supplement ever again in my life. I couldn't think. I was like a whack job out there. So. Now, if that would have been nice to maybe go pump some iron and lift some weights, but I always like just the nice, like something to give me a good pep in my step, but not like make me crazy, because I don't like things out of the ordinary. I like to be able to, have a conversation, be able to think, be able to make changes on the fly. So much of what I did as a player was thinking on the fly and getting people lined up and being able to think for them so they could be able to be at their best. No different in a team atmosphere. Like you have your leader making those decisions, and you have guys that just listen and do the work. Like there's different variables within a team, and I never wanted to be out of whack where I couldn't listen or I couldn't give direction.
You have enough of a natural crazy edge that you don't need it with the supplement.
I think so. Most times I have enough energy, so.
How about that mentally, though? Like you talk about being, the leader on a team and being able to communicate and being able to stay calm, really, and within yourself. Any mental practices that you implemented that were helpful for you, or was it more for you? I mean, even mental practices to make yourself be so disciplined.
Mm-hmm. I think I do like to read. during my playing days, I had a lot of time where I was in either the sauna 3 times a day, or I was taking 5-6 hour flights. A lot of time to just read and get my mind away from the game, whether it's diving into a fictional book of an adventure of all these crazy things and just kind of losing yourself, or if it's reading an autobiography about Phil Jackson or Kobe Bryant and learning, taking something away from them that made them their greatness. Or, Tim Grover is someone who I admire in reading Relentless. Like, those books mentally kind of shape who you want to be and trying to learn of what helps you individually. And each of those little instances help you. I took little tidbits that helped me better communicate. And as much as at times, like, the best coaches I've been around or the best leaders are the ones that are willing to listen and able to adapt and change, right? Like, there's tons of ways to get the job done. And if you pigeonhole yourself into only one way, it leaves yourself open to not getting the best results.
It's interesting because it's hard to be kind of type A and disciplined, which usually comes with that type of personality, that type of discipline, and then also be fluid and flexible and able to adjust, like you're saying, in those moments where, in football, it's such a great example of, you get out there and maybe it's not what you thought it was going to be, right? And a good coach, good players, that's the element in the game that makes the difference, right? Is who can adjust and who can maneuver.
You're 100% right. Like, there have been so many instances where the first series, we come out and we prepare for this all week, and we come out and it's completely opposite of what we prepared for. And I come to the sideline, I'm like, hey, coach, this isn't what we prepared for. This might be a good adjustment. This is what I'm seeing. And I've had coaches say, no, we're just going to stick to what we're doing. And we end up getting our faces kicked in. And I come after the game and I'm like, I told you after the first series we needed to change this. And then I've had other coaches that want that input, because at the end of the day, you guys are out there, right? You have, at times, I'm sure you're having communications, you're seeing what you're seeing, but at the end of the day, you're out there, and your feedback, your communication back to your leader, commander, or your coach is vital. And being able to listen and be humble enough to understand what they're saying and being able to adapt and change is what make great teams, is what make great coaches and great leaders. And I'm not perfect by any means, but I hope that I listen to my assistant coaches, that I listen to my teammates and what they're seeing, because ultimately it does no good if I'm the only one playing at a high level, or if I'm the only one trying to get a point across and no one else sees it. Like, in a team atmosphere, everyone has to come along.
Talk a little bit about just kind of how you changed and how your body and mental approach changed over the years, over the 14-year span of your career, and kind of what you think really allowed you to have that type of longevity. You talk about being able to play consistently without missing games, which is, I mean, we've just watched, right, this past 2 weeks of football, how many players are injured in week 1 and week 2 of football. It's really special to be able to do that. I mean, how did you change over the years, and what do you ultimately attribute it to?
So, my first couple years in the league, it wasn't the importance of keeping your body right and lifting just wasn't important. It was, man, I'm just trying to survive. And I'm sure we've all felt like that. Like, you feel alone. You feel that you're just trying to earn your role, earn the respect.
And there's a large learning curve.
Yes, yeah. And then you feel comfortable, you feel confident in yourself, you feel comfortable with what is going on, what is required, and you've learned over maybe a span of what is expected. And honestly, the bottom line for me is I wanted to be great, and I wanted to be the best and strive for that every single day. And I wasn't gonna be fine or accept anything less. Whether it's a walkthrough or a meeting or doing everything, maximizing the amount of time in a day to make sure that I'm getting better and I'm trying to be great, and to really carry that over throughout my career and really put the emphasis. I mean, I treated myself the 4-week period when I went back this past year than I was trying to earn my starting role year 9. I was out there to prove that I should be out there. I was out there to basically, the guy next to me, I'm out to basically kill you in all these drills, to show everybody out here that I'm the guy that should be out here, not you. So as you're competing always against yourself, but you're always competing against your boys, your team, to elevate each other, right? And to earn that respect and to earn your role. Like, nothing's given in this world. And for me, every day was an opportunity to show that and to earn that respect and earn my role. That doesn't mean I'm a bad teammate. That doesn't mean that I wasn't willing to help on the side or when we come off the field. But when I cross that white line, it's either me or you. That's the bottom line. So I couple that. I couple the mental drive to be great. I couple it with a routine and understanding that if I don't take part and take care of my body and my mind and everything that entails, that I can't even get to that standard that I want to get to.
I love listening to that because I feel like my experience as a reporter around great athletes, covering Peyton Manning or Tom Brady or Michael Phelps or some of the people that I've gotten to watch train and perform is that is the difference maker, is that mental approach to it really, and being able to say, like, I want to be, like, deciding that that's what you want to be. And I think you have to first make that decision mentally and commit to that mentally before anything else can happen, right? I feel like before you can get the physical stuff and before all of that, you have to really decide in your mind that you're willing to sacrifice or you're willing to do what it takes to be great, because it takes a lot of different things. But the first commitment really has to be mentally, I think, deciding that you're going to do that, convincing yourself that you're going to do it, and then actually going for it.
Yeah, it's really like the direction of what you want. What's the direction you want to go? How am I going to get there? What are the steps that are going to help me achieve my goal of what I want for myself? And then committing to it. I mean, it's so simple, but it's so hard, right? It's so simple to just say, I'm going to commit to this. But are you willing to commit everything you got to being great at what you want to do? It's easy to say, but are you willing to do it? And the reason why some people get to the levels of play or levels in the business world or work life, like, there's reasons why. It's because nothing is going to stop them.
Yeah, so you've got to work for it, right?
There's no denying working and hard work. I mean, at the end of the day, that's a good recipe for success.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna, I think, are we ready to open up to questions? You guys have some good questions for Eric. We can ask him who we can start in fantasy football.
Fantasy. Let's go. I'm 1-0.
I was asking him about TJ Watt's recent injury because he, I think, had a pec injury as well. But would love to hear from you guys. Just any other follow-up questions on rest and recovery or Eric's career.
Don't be shy. I'm an open book. Okay? You may not like my answer, but you'll get a genuine answer.
Hi, my name is Aiden Della Pena. I'm from Temecula, California. And I was just wondering, what was it like playing under John Harbaugh for those years in Baltimore?
So Coach Harbs, we call him Harbs, and I loved my time in Baltimore. I loved the second chance at life, in a sense, from my days in San Diego, going on to a new organization and new head coach and just seeing a different light. And the one thing I love about Harbs is he is as fiery and as competitive as anybody, but he was always willing to listen to the leaders of the team. If there was an issue, if there was something going on they didn't know about that we brought to the table, he was always willing to listen and willing to change and adapt to whatever it took to make sure we were at our best on Sundays and make sure we were together as a team. Harbs is a great man, a great dude, and one of the best leaders I've ever been around.
Hi, my name is Levi Surratt from Fort Sizzle, Virginia. Who is the player that was the most challenging and most fun to compete against?
Oh yeah, great question. I always said that I loved competing against Peyton Manning, and the reasons are because he was ahead of the game, both the way he played and the way he ran and the way he was like an orchestra of all these little pieces, and he was just, moving the parts all around. And we had to adjust, and we had to really push the limits of defensively of how to counterbalance one of the all-time great quarterbacks and how he ran, checking at the line of scrimmage, audibling to another play, then re-audibling to another play. Like, we had, from our times, my early San Diego's, we basically transformed defensively to be able to have 2 calls within 1 call, and being able to check an audible or reload a blitz or change the blitz if he audibled off your look or your disguise. And the challenge with him was, if you weren't right or if he knew what you were doing, you were dead. And it was just imperative that you had to give him different looks and had to be almost one step ahead to try to make life hard for him, because he was so good and he was so ahead. Like, the game, what it is now, he was doing 15 years ago, which is kind of crazy to see. Like, he was doing all this stuff now where defensively no one was ready for it.
And he was so good, I think, at leaning into his skill set and what he was good at, which was the mental side of the game. Like, he wasn't a physical specimen, or, that wasn't his thing. I mean, he was so smart and so able to see the field, and so that was what he really focused on and did.
Yes.
And he was, I remember covering the Broncos one year, and he was injured out later in his career. And John Fox showed us a picture of him in the maybe cold tub or whatever he was doing. He was watching practice on his iPad while they were with a headset in, listening to it, so he could be able to take this all in.
Sounds like him.
Yeah, he never
one of a kind.
Never quit any of it. Okay, we have a couple more questions.
Hi, my name is Priscilla Leon. I'm from Upland, California.
Oh,
you
I
played
see
at
you.
Altaloma.
IE, let's go.
So, coming from Altaloma, I know they don't have the strongest program. I don't know if they were strong when you were there, but when I went to Upland, like 10 years after you graduated, they weren't as strong. So I wanted to know what you did to overcome your strongest, or like how you overcome like mentally and physically at your lowest point. Like, what you did to overcome.
At the high school level, or just in
Or high
life
school,
in
like,
general?
Going to Utah, going to
Okay.
like Chargers, like what did you do to progress your state, and how you pushed past like your obstacles?
Yeah. That's a great question. So I'll relate it to high school. I was really good in high school, and like most guys, if you're fortunate enough to get a scholarship, you're usually the best player on your team. So then you go to college and you play. I played 4 years and ended up just having a great career, and everyone loved you at college. They're chanting your name. Like, it's just a really cool experience if you're fortunate enough to play. Then I get to the NFL, and it was a rude awakening to the realization that not everyone likes you, and a lot of people want you to fail, quite honestly. So my first couple years, I had a hard time dealing with the negativity and people not liking me. And it really ate me up inside. Like, who doesn't want to be liked? Who doesn't want to be told that they're doing a good job? Like, it's just human nature. And I struggled first couple years. And when I decided to really take my game to the next level is when I decided that I'm cutting everybody outside of my circle. Outside of the circle, that the people, the talkers, the naysayers, the Twitter warriors, the social media people that think they know anything about anything, I made the decision that in this moment, I am not wasting one more second of my life, energy on people that don't know me or don't know what the work I put in and aren't around me. So if you're not my teammates, my coaches, organization, family, or my people in my circle, I could give two, it's about you. And did I lose a lot of friends or people that I thought were my friends? Yeah. But I was clear and focused on what I wanted to do and what made me happy. And that was probably the best decision I ever made in that instance. And going through the struggles of my last year in San Diego, I lost the love of football. I had realized that people who I thought were my teammates and friends weren't. And to go through that whole situation, have people turn their back on me, was hard for me to deal with. But it also was a great reminder of who is in your circle. And to hold those people dear to you and to really spend your time and focus on the ones that really have your back. And to go through that was a real blessing for me, even though I was in a lot of, I just wasn't in a good place, didn't want to play football anymore. But I'm so glad it happened, because I think all things happen for a reason, and I was meant to grow and to be a better person and to be closer with my wife and kids. Through that moment, we sold our house in Escondido. We jumped shipped and bought a house in Baltimore and lived year-round, didn't know anybody. But it was some of the best years of our lives, and going through that adversity would have never have happened.
I think as a public figure, so many people feel like they want to weigh in, or you have a bad game, or you do something, and everybody's this quarterback, couch quarterback, right? They know better how to do it. But I think advice that I was given many years ago, I think, is if somebody's not an expert in your field, why are you listening to their criticism of who you are and what you're doing? So, you know, a public
100%.
person just out there telling you how to play football that doesn't know you, you just got to be able to be like, I can't listen to people that don't know me, don't know my field,
Yes.
you know, and are criticizing it. I think we have a couple more.
Exactly.
Paul Packer from Seattle, Washington. My question is, what's your leadership style, and how was it effective on the field? What did you do to have those teammates and your peers follow you and get them to do things that needed to get done?
Great question. Leadership is very tricky, especially when you're working with teammates from different backgrounds, different cultures, different households, siblings, everything that you can think of. And what I always tried to do as I got older, and you know, when it became my defense in a sense, like, you really have to take the time to get to know your teammates and to get to know what makes them click and who are they at the core, right? Because when you have that bond in a sense where there's some even ground, you're able to see each other in a different light than just teammates, right? And I felt like over the course of my career, I felt that all my teammates knew that I loved them and that I respected them. And anytime that I needed to get on them, whether it be in the game, I never came at them in a derogatory or disrespectful way. I may yell at them because we gave up a touchdown because of a blown coverage, but they always knew that it never came out of a way of love, if that makes sense. That, yeah, I may be mad in the moment, but it's because I want us to be great and I expect us to be great, and I hold that standard at all times. So I think you can ask any of my teammates throughout my career that I was there for them and I was accountable, and that I led not only by example of how I would go about my business, but also as a normal person. Like, I respected them and I loved them. And I think that goes a long way of building a great team and having your guys follow you, knowing that at the end of the day, if we win, it's about my teammates. If we lose, it's on me. I didn't do a good enough job as the leader of this team. And when your teammates know that, they love you and respect you, and they'll run through a wall for you. When you don't do that, it's hard for guys to follow a leader that doesn't do those things.
But getting to know the core of who the person is so that you actually have a relationship, it starts there. And then were you the guy that held them accountable? Like, were you direct in that, like, you messed it up?
So I never like in a game setting would call any of my teammates out. Like, I would never point the finger. I would never be like, what are you doing on the field? I'd always pull them away. The cameras aren't on us. Hey, what happened? What'd you see? Okay, this is how it needs to be done. If they come back to it, let's play it this way so we can make them pay. During the week, the standard is the standard. And I do this with my little 14-year-olds. They don't like me a lot of times, but listen, I'm trying to be great. And I'm trying to bring the level of play of everyone that I'm around. And with my teammates, it was no different. And I didn't go at them really vocally much. It was more so by my example. How I practiced, how I wrote notes anytime I was in meetings, how I was in the building before everyone else, how I'm staying later. That's how I tried to lead. And then when I had to say something, they knew, how could you counter what I'm saying when I'm doing everything possible to be the best?
Good morning to both of you guys. My name's Sergeant Aaron Weber from West Virginia. Wild and wonderful, right? I'm a big Pittsburgh fan, so I do appreciate you coming out here, right?
I almost signed there. Big Ben's one of my boys.
Hey, maybe you could give some tips to TJ, or like you said about that pectoral injury. So I'm going to appeal to your fatherly sense a little bit. I'm 29. I just had my first kid back in June, and my wife
Congrats.
and I know. Thank you. Appreciate it. My wife and I are big proponents of longevity, and you touched on the mental aspect of what it means to be an elite athlete in the game. And of course, we're all training to be tactical athletes here and elite tactically, right? So my question for you is, how do you, actually, before I get to my question.
Yes, sir.
I was able to work the security for the Super Bowl, and I noticed one thing about you. You had a little backpack with all these ringlets on from all the games that you've been in before. And no doubt that's a unique identifier of where you've been and what you've come through. And so my question is, what are some of the unique identifiers that encourage you to continue to be at that elite level, to create longevity for yourself in the future, and to propel yourself into the future, to be there for your kids when you're a little older? Because that's what I want to do for my kid.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. You guys can all hear me? Yeah, I can hear. Yeah, those things, those factors, those little details, right, that separate you from everybody else, right? Well, what makes me different than every other safety in the league, or how did I was fortunate enough to play as long as I did, and try to take that approach to my next life as being a dad and as a husband, and trying to be the best coach possible. And I think, you know, am I still a work in progress? Of course. Like, I'm still trying to be a great dad and husband, and trying to still manage those things. But I think the bottom line is your energy can be contagious, right? Your personality, the way you look at life. I treat life, I love life, right? I don't want to die right now. Like, I got so much to do, so much to care for, so much change that can happen. And I think that when I look at life, I try to get the most out of every moment, every day, right? The most precious thing in life to me is time, right? And you don't get it back, right? Last second, it's gone. I can't just go back and get it. So I try to be in the moment as best I can. Now, am I perfect? No. A lot of times Chanel will be like, hey, can you be a little bit more in the moment with us talking at 10:30 at night after a long day? And I'm like this. Babe, we got to get up early, babe. No. And she wants to talk. But, you know, that's what you got to do sometimes. But just understanding those things. What's important to you? What makes you go, and what is most important to you? Is it your faith? Is it your family? Is it your drive to be great, right? Like the drive that I did and treated every day in my profession, I try to do in my home life. Being the leader of my household, being a great husband, being a great dad, being a great friend, right? Like, that just doesn't change now that I'm not playing football. It's even more so now because I'm trying to raise these rugrats into be future adults of this country that need to make change and make a difference, right? I got one shot at raising a son. I got 3 girls and a boy. And I'm really hard on my son because I can't mess that up. I can't mess that up because at the end of the day, if he goes up and becomes a not so good person, that's a reflection of me, right? And same thing with my girls. I'm trying to love them, nourish them, teach them of great values. But that comes back to what you are, what are your values, your faith, your standard, and living life to the fullest, man. Like, I don't look back. I'm always looking forward, and I'm trying to get the most out of right now. Hope that helps.
Good afternoon to the both of you. My name's Quinn Lutens. I'm from South Bend, Indiana. So
there we go. Irish. Notre Dame.
Oh yeah, diehard.
Hey, what's going on with
the
them,
stadium?
Man?
Unfortunately, Tyler Buckner, their quarterback, who's a local kid too, just separated his shoulder.
It's tough. I like Drew Pine though. I liked him last year when he played Wisconsin.
They're not very good though.
So as somebody that is transitioning out of the Marine Corps in the next 2 weeks, played high school football. I'm actually trying to send game film to colleges right now to play again because I still have that itch. But what was the transition process for you to leave the game of football initially? Like, how hard was that for you? Because it's extremely difficult for me to get rid of that itch, and I've been gone from it for 4 years now. But so what was that like for you? So.
Yeah, mentally, when you have to be mentally ready. I could tell you, like, you still have that itch to play. So I would say try to play. And until all avenues are exhausted, then it start to plan and have a direction for the next step. For me, I knew I was mentally checked out. I just couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't, the time, the sacrifice, the pain, everything that entails to trying to be the best at something, I couldn't commit to anymore. And so mentally, physically, everything that it entailed, I was ready to move on. So I didn't have much of the struggles of wanting to play again. I didn't ever want to play again. Every time I watch Sunday football, I love the game of football. Literally, like, it's brought so much joy and lessons and adversity and just things that you just don't get in anything else. So I love when Sundays come around, when my Ravens or Rams are playing. Like, I get all geeked up, but never once did I wanted to go play again. Like, every time I saw a tackle, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy I'm not playing anymore, right? Or I'm walking down some stairs and my knees are cracking and aching in pain. Anytime I go downstairs, I'm like, that's why I retired, right? Because I can barely move now. So I was ready to be done. And on top of that, I knew where I wanted to go next. I wanted to coach. I wanted to be around my kids. I wanted to spend more time with my wife. That's where my focus was. So much of my career and my life had been selfishly what I needed. And thankfully, I had a great partner in crime that supported me and never gave me guff about staying late, or never gave me guff on a vacation. I had to find the nearest park and the nearest gym because I had to get my work in, right? But now the focus was, it's about my kids, it's about her, it's about giving back. And I knew that's the direction I wanted to go. So having a plan and figuring out the best way to execute that plan would be my advice for you. And if you still want to play, go play, man. Hey, you can only play football as long as you can once. Once it's done, it's done. Unless the Rams call you somehow and want you to come out of retirement, which is... Did that actually happen?
I know, right? I can't believe that happened. You must be really good.
No, there was just no one else is really what happened.
Oh, it's amazing they won a Super Bowl, though, with no one else.
We did. It's right here.
Okay, one last question.
Hi, I'm Jaquay Johnson from Baltimore, Maryland.
There we go.
Yeah.
I see you.
My biggest question is, like, when losing motivation for the sport and losing the love and it was dying out, what was one thing that you look forward to in the future to keep yourself going?
So when you asked when I lost it, or are you just saying in general? I missed the first.
Just like in general, like that love for the sport is dying out, or for anything. What's some things that keeps you going?
Like what keeps you? I guess when you're burnt out, you're saying, like, what does motivate you? Like you said, like you've hit hard times with the Chargers and you wanted to quit, and then you came back again, and then you came back again for the Rams. Like, what was it?
Yeah. So, great question. I think the early it was, this is how I provide for my family,
Right.
and this is an opportunity of a lifetime that I'm not going to let anybody get in the way of. As hard as it is, as the pain and the time and the sacrifice away from your family, like, that's just part of it, and you just have to learn to adapt and adjust and figure out the best way to get the job done. Now, personally, when you go through certain things in your career and it hits home in your heart, that becomes where I lost the love of the game, because you give so much. You give so much to your team, your community, the organization, and they basically kick you out, and they could care less about you. That was hard, but then what gave me life was the appreciation and love that I felt from the Ravens, right? That they wanted me, that they believed in me, that they felt like I could help their organization. And instantly that gave a fire in me to, one, prove them right and show them that they made the right decision. And two, it's nice to feel loved again. When you feel down, it's just nice to have someone put their arm around you and say that they love you or that they appreciate you. That carries a lot of weight in life. And for me, it gave me the motivation to go even harder than I ever did in my career. One, to show that they were wrong for treating me that way, and two, to show the Ravens that they made the right decision, and that I'll have their back for the rest of my life.
It's a great example of how when one person or one team doesn't see you in a certain way and doesn't find value in who you are or what you are, there's another organization out there who does find that value.
Yes, ma'am. I mean, it happens every year, especially with older guys. They're always quick to get you, move on from you, and get the next young guy in there. And there's some truth to that. Like, everyone gets old, everyone's going to retire, right? But when you still have that fight and you still have that desire, there's nothing like a motivated elder statesman that can get the job done.
Okay, my final question for Eric is, who are we putting in the? If you're in Vegas and if you have to place a wager, who are we putting in the Super Bowl this year?
Oh my!
Who's your pick?
Now,
Raiders, you're saying?
Raiders.
How about Chargers?
All right,
Chargers?
so I'll give a homer pick. So it would be Rams and Ravens.
Okay.
Okay. Now I'll give like a honest pick if I'm calling it right now.
Bills and Chiefs.
Bills and Chiefs, but they're in the same conference, so I'll do Bills. I'll do Bills and
Brady gets the.
I can't go Tom right now. Bear. There's not very good NFC teams out there.
Wow.
Vikings, KO. I don't think they're ready yet. Niners don't have a quarterback.
You got to go with Tom Brady.
Tom Brady, New Orleans, Falcon, Mariota. They just lost. Who'd they lose to? They should have won that game, by the way. I guess the Bucks. I mean, who wins? The Bills are the most complete team right now. Now, can they do it in the playoffs? And the NFC is deep. I mean, you can honestly look at like 6 to 8 teams that could come out of there.
And in the AFC.
AFC, yeah. NFC, you're looking at the Rams.
Clearly, you don't like the NFC.
Yeah, well, there's just not. You got the Rams and Bucks, really. I mean, I don't think Green Bay's going to be very well. Minnesota, yeah, I have him on my fantasy team. So.
Well, thank you guys so much for taking the time and listening to us today. And it's been a pleasure for me to sit with Eric and get a little bit of understanding of kind of what made you tick and what made you successful. And thank you for sharing all of that. And thank you all again so much for all that you do for us. And I hope you can apply some of what Eric's taught us today into your own practices and your own jobs.
Yes. Hopefully it wasn't too boring. I saw a couple heavy eyelids out there. So my apologies. I didn't spice it up good enough for you. But seriously, like, we can't thank you enough for the service you guys do, and really appreciate we're able to have the freedoms that we have and that we can go to sleep at night knowing that we're protected. And there's not a day that goes by that my family and I don't say our prayers and thank you guys for what you guys do for us across this country. So thank you, and know that you are loved and that we appreciate every day that you're serving this country. So thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, so who wants to come see this ring? And I'll sign some stuff for you guys if you want to as well.
Good job.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was fun.